Yo, what is going on, everybody? Back with another comic book review. This one's going to be a little different. I'm not going to show the whole snippet of me reading the book because, this was one I was kind of like iffy on doing, and I read it, and let me just say, way better than I thought it would be. So, not going to be rereading it because I just, read it. But let me just say, the book is Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. Best way I can describe this, it's kind of like an Old Man Logan style book where, Daredevil is like an old man, like retired and stuff like that. So, how this book basically starts off is Daredevil is at not funeral home, a cemetery. And at that cemetery, we see him walking up to someone's grave, and, basically just talking about the old days and reminiscing and, other shit like that. And, he cleans off the grave, uh, you know, wipes off the grave, starts talking to, the person in said grave. And we don't know who this is up until this panel, which is going to be a spoiler. So if you're not a big fan of spoilers, uh, I do apologize. But we later find out that he was talking to Wilson Grant Fisk, aka the Kingpin. Also, I do apologize if it's, turned around. That's just, how my camera's set up. But let me just say, seeing him talking to, the Kingpin's grave was a very interesting choice. I should also mention that the cover I got is a variant, so it's not going to look exactly like that. But let me just say, that was a really, really cool thing. And then, it continues on him being, the nice Catholic man he is. He's giving money to the homeless. He's walking his way, towards the ferry so he can, cross the, what's it called? The Hudson River, I think it's called. And then, like, he doesn't have his powers at this point. Like, he somehow lost his powers. It doesn't really explain how he lost his powers. But, he's like, it still stinks in here. And let me just say, it would have been way, way worse had I still had my, super senses, which, phenomenal. And then, it cuts to him going outside to get some fresh air. And then someone else comes out. And this guy's like, damn, fuck these DBs and, other things like that. Saying a lot of inappropriate things about these DBs who, not 100% sure who they are. I mean, it probably explained it in the book, but I mean, basically they're both outside. It's snowing, by the way, if I didn't mention that. But they're basically standing. This guy is basically just complaining about everything. And then this guy's like, what are you, blind? And then, he notices, Daredevil's cane. And then he's like, oh, you actually are blind. And then, it kind of cuts to this scene where they're on the ferry. And very, very interesting shot of the Brooklyn Bridge. And the one thing Matt Murdock has been saying, just for these first few pages, is it's all part of God's plan. Because, and I believe he's also a priest at this time, if I remember correctly. Probably, it's not going to show yet. But anyway, he then gets off the ferry and, starts walking to his soup kitchen. I think that's what they're called. His soup kitchen. And then, some guy stops him being like, hey man, do you have some money for food? And he's like, oh, but of course. So Matt's going to offer him food. But this guy basically is like, I'd rather take all of it. He then, pushes Matt Murdock down a, flight of stairs that lead into a subway. Kind of like that. And Daredevil's basically thinking, okay, you've done this thousands of times before. You can do it. So he puts his hand out just to try to flip himself so he doesn't fucking, break his goddamn neck. And then there's someone else at the bottom of these stairs. And basically they threaten, they're threatening Matt to give them everything he has. And then Matt's kind of trying to talk with him, being like, hey, I will give you guys, actual food. Like, I'll buy a meal for you. We can hang out. We can talk. You can come down to my, what's it called? Soup kitchen, and you guys can eat as many meals as you want. There's, places to sleep there too, blah 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 blah, stuff like that. But then, you know, they're like, nah, fuck that, and then they just basically, beat him with his cane a little bit, and take it with them, and then he yells, "Hey, can you at least leave my cane? I'm a blind man." And then they do that, and Matt's being, since he can't see, don't know why I did that. We all know Daredevil's blind. Basically, you the guy who robbed him basically threw his cane down the stairs, and Matt's just hearing it go like tink, 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 and he's like, "Okay, I got this." And then it's kind of stupid, but then he gets smacked in the face with the cane. I just thought that was kind of funny. And then it cuts to Matt's soup kitchen, which is called Battle in Jack's house. And for those of you who don't know, Matt Murdock's dad's name is Jack Murdock, so he named the soup kitchen after his dad. And Matt's basically at the beginning when he's in this soup kitchen, he's just doing the meaning. I don't know what they're called, but the mundane tasks, kind of like washing dishes, taking out the trash, and stuff like that. And then there's people screaming, yelling, being like, "Go, go, go! Run! Move faster!" And then Matt, he's turning his head over to it, trying to see what's happening, and then boom, big ass explosion. People dead, people injured, other things like that. And then this is the cool part: Matt gets his abilities back because it was a dirty bomb or something like that, and it was kind of like radiated, and Matt's powers are kind of radiation based, I guess. So Matt basically gets his powers back after not having them for who knows how long. It'll probably explain that. Like, this is only going to be a 3-issue series, if I remember correctly. And then Matt's being like, "Okay, you've done this before, just focus on one thing." And that's what he does. And then he saves a little girl, gets her to safety, and he's doing what the hero does, and saving more people, telling people, "Hey, go do this." And then he goes to where the bomb was, and jumps down into it. And then he's like, "I hear a heartbeat," and it's a heartbeat I've heard before. We don't know who it is at this point, but basically he's going around, he's smelling the dead bodies, he's hearing the people who blew up the tunnel. He then is going to go to wherever this one guy is, and then we see who that one guy is. He's holding up an excessive amount of weight, trying to protect this one singular person. That person being Captain America. And let me just say, I love how they drew Cap in this book. That's just amazing. So cool. And we basically see Cap, standing strong, holding up all this, and then, protecting the innocent. And then, the cave's about to, because Cap can't hold it up much longer. He is excessively older than when we normally see him. And then, basically Matt takes the injured civilian out of the tunnel and is bringing them to the surface. And throughout this entire time, Matt's being like, I can still hear his heartbeat, still going, and then just boop, 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 and then dead. So Captain America is dead, basically, in this issue. And then Matt's thinking, I gotta go find the guys who did this, which is what he does. He basically finds them. Oh, something I also forgot to mention. They did steal Cap's shield, and they're going to give it to their boss. And then, as you can see right there, Matt picks up a rock and then distinctively fucking domes one of the guys with the rocks, which was amazing. And then we have this really awesome scene where he's just doing backflips and shit, avoiding the bullets going onto the rooftops. And then these people drive through a flea market type thing, or what are they called? I can't think of what they're called. But basically it's like a little place where people sell like, vegetables they've grown, and food market? I think they're called food markets. But anyway, Daredevil is running on the rooftops, and he's about to go jump off the building, jump onto the truck. But then he's like, oh shit, right, I'm older. So he just basically stops himself from doing that. But he has, their son, like a bloodhound, which is tremendously awesome. And then these guys finally get back to their base of operations, going to talk to their, the guy in charge, which is pretty awesome. Guy number one, who is the guy holding the shield, is basically like, maybe I should just keep it for myself, sell it on the black market, blah, 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 blah. But then they're like, the other two guys are like, the boss will kill you for that, and we don't know who the boss is at this point. And you still can't really tell who it is, just by the picture, but, it's, pretty interesting when you do find it out. Because this is the first time we see their boss. We don't fully know who it is at this moment. I mean, I kind of guessed who it was at this point, but then they, show him Captain America's shield, and he's like, oh, he's like, I haven't seen this in years. If I could just stop. And this guy's like excessively shaking too. And to get the shaking to stop, he legit stabs himself in the goddamn hand just to touch it. Which is fucking ridiculously intense. It's so cool though. And I think it's, maybe they've mentioned it. I want to say it's Bullseye. I think it's Bullseye. I'm pretty sure it's Bullseye. Interesting. And then, after that, it cuts back to Daredevil. And then Daredevil, let me just say, this was a cool scene in this book. Like, we see him opening up his trunk, staring at it, and then grabbing out his billy clubs and that. So Daredevil is back, baby. And then Bullseye's basically, being like, remember this? Of course you do. You worship the guy. Talking about Captain America's shield. He was everything you weren't and ain't. Bet it burns you up that I've got it. You want to hold it? You want to hold it, Frank? So yes, Bullseye has a severely, and I repeat, severely damaged, limbs cut off, like legs are gone, arms are gone, Punisher, which is fucking ridiculous, if you ask me. That, and then he's like, Captain America's dead. And then Punisher has not said a single thing. He tried biting Bullseye, which was kind of funny. And then, after, Bullseye's talking to Punisher, being like, you miss the old days, Castle? Because I sure do. Basically because, back when they were younger, things were, much more easier, more fun, more deadly, and other junk like that. And then it cuts back to Matt Murdock's apartment, where he's living. We then see that the trunk that held the Daredevil outfit is empty. And then, cuts to the window wide open. That's in his apartment. And then it zooms in on the window. And then it ends. Oh, God. Basically, I'll just tell you what the words are on the last page, and then I'll show you. Whatever has happened, whatever will happen, it's all part of God's plan. See, going back to that God's plan thing. And then it ends on the most beautiful, and I repeat, beautiful shot of the Punisher, in my opinion. And then the whole to be continued thing. And then it just has basically, like, editor, New York, New York. Basically, what they normally do. But another thing I thought was kind of cool was this. That's a really cool picture, in my opinion. And then I'll just skip past all the, like extras that are part of this, like all the editor notes and, other things like that. Slash the, drawings that they were doing, like pages and, pages with color and stuff like that. And then I'll show you guys what issue number 2 looks like, because let me just say, issue number 2, you can see the outfit quite a bit more, and there's quite a bit of damage on the suit sewn together, which I am excessively curious about. But yeah, Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, issue number 1, like, let me just say, the more I read Daredevil, the more I fall in love with Daredevil. Like, Daredevil is genuinely one of the series I wish I would have started reading sooner. Don't know what that word was. Started reading sooner just because it's phenomenal so far. Like, the main series plus, that extra thing that I just read, it's amazing. And yeah, like, if you guys want me to review any more Daredevil, just please let me know. I might in the future, because I know it's already up to 20 issues. Probably won't do them all individually, like, probably bunch, like, the first 5 into one, second 5, third amount of 5, and, you know, fourth 5, something like that. But yeah, I do recommend you guys check out Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, because it's amazing. Like, I can't I genuinely can't praise it enough. It is the most amazing, like, out of the 3 books I've reviewed, like, it's my favorite one that I've reviewed so far. And I will be reviewing another one. This one will be the next one, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe one last time. I've already read that one too, and going to be doing what I did with the Daredevil one. But anyway, enough of the tangents. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, and if there's any books you do want me to review, just let me know down below. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will catch you in the next video. Love you all, and peace.